Greetings. Glad that you can be with me today. I'm Steve Cole, the pastor of the First Methodist Church in Oswego, Kansas, and the West Mineral Methodist Church in West Mineral, Kansas. And Happy New Year. New Year 2024. And today we're going to be looking at what something is called Epiphany. In other words, it's kind of the observance of the wise men coming to find the King of the Jews. And so that's what we'll be looking at today. Matthew 2, verses 1 to 12. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who's been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard of this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. From you shall come a ruler, who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called the wise men and learned from the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, on opening their treasure chests, they offered him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. May God add a blessing to the reading, the hearing, and the understanding of his word. You know, it's been said that if wise women had come that particular moment, things would have been a little bit differently. They would have actually arrived before the baby had been born and helped with the birth. They would have brought practical gifts like diapers and baby clothes and baby food. And they would have made a casserole and put together a babysitting schedule. Oh well. Who knows? The wise men were searching for the newborn King of the Jews. All they had was a star. They followed a star. And you know, when we search for things today, things have changed over the last few years. At one time, like for example, if you wanted to buy a certain kind of car, well, you looked at the dealerships and saw what the dealerships had. You might look in the want ads in the newspaper, but that was about it. You couldn't do much. You might talk to some friends and say, where can I find a car like this? But you're kind of limited in your searching. Today, we've got the internet. There's all kinds of websites out there, autotrader.com, cars.com, all these Nirvana and all these others that you put in what kind of car you want. You can even tell it what color, how many miles, year, make, everything. And it'll find the car for you. It's amazing. Yeah. And, sometimes, we want that car that way. Now, I have an advantage because I've got a brother that's a used car dealer. And when I want a car, I just call up my brother and say, this is what I'm looking for. And he can usually find it for me. So, hey, pretty good. A few years ago, I wanted to, have some kind of a project, something that I could work on, and wanted to do kind of like a classic car, but I wanted something unusual and but not big, some kind of like a little truck or a Jeep, something like that. And so I started searching, and of course went to those places like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and that type of thing. But I had certain criteria that I wanted. I wanted something that wasn't required too much work, but I didn't want to have to pay a whole lot of money either, and I wanted it to not. I didn't want to have to travel a long ways to go get it. So I started looking, and most of the things I saw were either too much money, needed too much work done to them, or they were too far away. Finally, within 15 miles of where I lived, something came along. It wasn't that expensive. It ran, so I didn't have to worry about, major engine repairs and things like that. And it was close by. So I got a 1981 Volkswagen Rabbit pickup. Not something everybody would want, but still kind of unusual. It's diesel, front-wheel drive. Well, a little bit different. They were only made for about 3 years, so yeah, it's something kind of different. So, not something everybody would want, but it fit my criteria. And of course, the other thing is, especially when somebody's working with, let's say, a classic car, at one time finding parts was a really tough thing to do because, the local parts store might not have what you want, and local salvage yards might not either. What are you going to do? How are you going to find the parts? Well, today, thanks to the internet, there's all kinds of websites. You can go to eBay and all kinds of other places that have parts for just about anything. So yeah, things have changed a lot. And of course, traveling. Like the wise men had to travel from wherever they came from. They had a star to follow to guide them along the way. What do we have today? We have the GPS, right? Put in the address, and the little voice tells us all the little directions we need to go, when and where. We used to have to follow the MAP, but now, or we might even have to stop and ask for directions. Something men don't care much for doing, but that's what the wise men did, didn't they? They got as far as Jerusalem, and they said, "Where's he at?" They asked for directions, right? Wow. We really don't know much about these men, like we call the wise men, the magi, others call them. Were they astrologers? Were they kings, as the song says, "We three kings of Orient are," right? Were they from the Orient? Did they ride camels? Well, just about every depiction we have of the wise men traveling is they're riding camels, but there's nothing in the Bible that says necessarily that they rode camels. But, that was a main source of transportation back then, so, yeah, probably did. Yeah. How many were there? Well, we had 3, right? We three kings, right? Well, were they really kings? We don't know. Were they? Or were they not? And were there really 3? Maybe there were 2. There were 3 gifts, so we make the assumption that there must have been 3 of them. Maybe there were 4. Actually, somebody one time said there was a 4th wise man, but they turned him away because he had fruitcake. Whatever it was, or whoever they are, they had a sign. They had a star. The star guided them where they needed to go. And they were going there to worship him. They were seeking after this, and God had revealed to them that his son had been born. We don't really understand how seeing a star indicated to them that the newborn King of the Jews had arrived, but God had revealed that to them. Wow. And God reveals himself to people in lots of different ways. God came to Abraham in the form of 3 men telling him that his wife Sarah would have a baby in her old age. God came to Moses in a burning bush. God revealed himself to the people as they wandered in the wilderness, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. God told Samuel, as a little boy, came to him at night as a voice in the night. And later God told Samuel to anoint David as king. God spoke to Elijah while he was hiding in a cave, and it was a soft, still voice. In the New Testament, Peter, James, and John see Jesus transfigured, right? Wow. Paul receives a vision on the road to Damascus, and Peter had a sheet come down out of the sky to tell him all food was kosher, you might say. Yeah. John had a vision while he's on the island of Patmos that we know as the book of Revelation. Yeah. God came to people, and he came to Mary and Joseph as an angel came and gave them the message, and to the shepherds. Yeah. God reveals himself in many different ways. These wise men weren't necessarily looking for a star, but they saw it, and they knew what it meant. In Revelation 3:20, it says, "Listen, I am standing at the door knocking. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with you and you with me." Saying, I'm here. I'm knocking. All you got to do is open the door. Wow. We find God in many different ways, in many different experiences. Some people experience God when they are young, some when they're older, some maybe go to church camp and experience there, some hear about God through a parent, a grandparent, a friend. Yeah. God comes to us in lots of, and you probably know two of us have the exact same experience of finding God. Some people have a dramatic experience, kind of like Paul on the road to Damascus, and others are the man that wrote the song Amazing Grace. We're told that he was in a storm at sea and met God during that time at the storm at sea, and later wrote the song Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Yes. And then others, it might be like it was for Elijah, that soft, still voice that lets us know that God is present. There's all kinds of ways God speaks to us. He can speak to us in a sunrise, a sunset, through other people, maybe even, possibly, through the Bible, and maybe, just maybe, in a church. We certainly hope so. Yeah. God can come to us all different ways. In Jeremiah 29:13 it says, "When you search for me, you will find me, if you seek me with all your heart." Wow. He's there. He's willing if we just are open to having him come and be part of our life. And that's what we can all experience. Well, thank you for coming. I look forward to this new year and hoping that 2024 will continue to help us, knowing that God, no matter what takes place in 2024, God is with us to help us, guide us, and lead us in all that we do. Thank you for coming.